Hello everybody, I am going to be doing a review of the Boss ME-70 guitar multiple effects, but I'm going to be doing it using a bass. I've seen a lot of reviews of the ME-70 floating on YouTube, but I have not really seen any or many that actually use a bass guitar instead of a guitar. I know Boss does have some multi-effects pedals for bass, but I really like the ME-70 and the way it sounded, so I got it for used with my bass. So I'm going to show you some of the functions. For those of you who are wondering what kind of bass I'm using for this video, it's a Jackson concert bass, 5-string. Alright, so we'll start with the preamp, which is down here. It has an EQ. Pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to kind of skip through that one. You have the clean function, which really is, it's a clean sound that's, pretty smooth. Then we move into some of the other amps. The combo amp, this is kind of based on Boss's instructions in the manual. The combo they really describe as it's a crunch sound reminiscent of a Vox combo amp. Next, we'll move on to the Tweed, which is kind of like that of a Fender Bassman. Alright, moving on to the Stack, which is, it's similar to the what they call the 1970s Marshall amp sound. Alright, there's just a couple left on this. There's the lead stack. It's a very high gain lead sound. And finally, there is the rectifier. Models a Mesa Boogie dual rectifier. Alright, so that takes you through the preamp section. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the first bank of pedal effects, which is the comp effects. First one up would be a compressor, which probably won't show up very well through this, but I'll try it anyway. So you can tell it smooths out the sound a little bit. Alright, there's a couple auto wahs. This is the T-wah up function. Then there's the T-wah down function. I'll play the same riff. So your basic auto-wah functions. Slow gear, this is almost like a reverse guitar, kind of takes away some of the attack that allows you to have more almost like a violin sound. Alright, next one up is a defretter. Essentially, it tries to emulate the sound of a bass guitar. You know, it's or rather a fretless guitar, since this is designed for the guitar. Pretty hit and miss. Try without it, just to kind of give you a sense of with and without. And lastly, there's a few patches that change the pickup configuration. One is supposed to change it from a single coil to a humbucker. Then there's one from a humbucker to a single. And then there's a solo function, which is really, I guess it helps you, your guitar solo sound better. So this is single to humbucker. Humbucker to single. Really, you can tell it really cuts down the output. So I'm not really sure how helpful these last few are for bass, and there's just a solo one. Gives a bit extra kick for solos. And that takes us through the comp effects panel. Okay, now I'm going to take you through the second bank, which is a bunch of overdrive and distortion effects. First one, boost. It really helps create punchy, clean tones. First, we'll place a little riff alone. Gives a little bit of distortion. Next one up is natural. It's a natural overdrive sound. Next one up is the OD1, which is essentially Boss's original overdrive distortion pedal. Next up is the blues distortion. Then the next one up is a distortion, more like a straight ahead distortion pedal. Getting some feedback there. You can also adjust the level of the, on all of these you can adjust the level of the effect. I'm actually going to turn it down a little bit. Next up is the classic distortion, which is more of a vintage stack type amp. Next up would be modern, which is the sound of a large high gain amp. A bit of feedback again. Then there is a metal amp, which really emphasizes the mid-range of the distortion. Then the core, which cuts the mid-range of the distortion. Lastly is fuzz, which you all know what a fuzz distortion sounds like. Really, really dirty. And those are the different types of distortion. There's 10 on this one. Next I'm going to go and show you the modulation effects.